What is going on, guys, and welcome to For The Fans with me, Jack, and my co-host Ben. Today we're going to be talking about the agony that was England's performance yesterday against Uruguay as they ran out 2-1 winners with Suarez grabbing both goals. We'll also take a look at the not so interesting games from yesterday, including Colombia's 2-1 win against the Ivory Coast and the 0-0 draw between Greece and my boys Japan. Before taking a look towards today's games, we are joined by GCII Messi, aka Ross. Let's get straight into this. Hopefully you guys enjoy.
Disappointment across the nation as we enter day 9, joined by Jack.
I'm good, thank you. Well, no, I've been better, Ben.
Oh, well, that's a shame. I know what'll cheer you up. We've got a guest.
Yes.
We're joined by FIFA YouTuber GCII Messi. How you doing, Ross?
Hello, I'm all good, thanks.
Right, for those who don't know who you are, I know most people watching will definitely know who you are. You're quite a celebrity on YouTube. So, but for people that don't know, tell us a little about what you do and who you are.
I pretty much just make FIFA videos and put them on YouTube. It's pretty much all it is. It's nothing too crazy.
You're very good at it.
I don't know.
He was saying before we recorded that he's the best FIFA YouTuber
Ever.
on the internet.
Ever.
So we're delighted to have him on. Do we start with the England game? I think we do. I think we get it out of the way.
Can I just ask, Ross, is your last name actually Messi?
I wish. It's not, no.
Anyway,
unfortunately,
you can.
Always stupid questions interrupting the
sorry.
actual format of the show. God damn it. Right, so England 1, Uruguay 2, Luis Suarez at the double. It's not gone that well, has it, for England? But the first game was quite good. The second game, not so good. Ross, you saw the game. What did you make of England's performance?
it just does my head in how good we played against Italy compared to what we set up against like Uruguay yesterday. It was so bad. Like, everything just went wrong.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot going on. None of it particularly good. Jack, you go on. You thought England would win. We all thought England would win.
I said 3-0. I was wrong. I thought Uruguay poor before. England played well, but it was like there was two different teams playing yesterday. It was like the England of old and the Uruguay that it wasn't the one that played against Costa Rica turned up.
No.
And England just weren't good enough. Suarez was clinical, and ultimately he was the difference between the two sides.
Yeah, Wayne Rooney back in the middle. Well, I say the middle. When I was watching the game, I thought, well, he's in the middle. He's back there. And then throughout the game, the front four, Sturridge, Welbeck, Sterling and Rooney, were just kind of moving all over the place. Like when Rooney scores his goal, he comes from like a left-back position because his movement's horrific and he's always in the wrong place. Ooh, I've slagged him off early. Sterling was ineffective because there's no space in behind. Welbeck, I don't know why Welbeck was there. We might as well have played Milner because at least he runs forward and backwards. And I thought Sturridge was all right. What did you make of Rooney then, Ross? He's kind of quite a lot of criticism on this show. What did you make of him?
He annoys me. Like, if you follow him on Twitter, I'm always slagging him off. And like the first game, he never got back. Yesterday, he was a bit better. Probably could have had a hat trick, which is probably the most annoying thing. But he didn't really seem to be clinical.
No, you look across at Uruguay, Jack, and they've got a man who's just come back from knee surgery. A month ago to the day, he comes back and he bags a double. He was pretty imperious, wasn't he?
He was. I wanted to slag off Rooney, but I'll hold back for a few minutes.
We'll come back to it.
Suarez was superb. His movement on the second goal, just the anticipation to, think, once if the defender gets the flick on, or Gerrard, as it was, who himself didn't have the best game, but he just looked sharp, didn't he? That first goal, the little header, the finesse header, the way it kind of, Cavani picked him out, and then he was able just to head it in. It was superb.
Yeah, he's one hell of a player when he's like in a team which is built around him. I was really impressed by him. Obviously, Ross, Liverpool fan, what did you make of Louis yesterday?
It's not nice, like him scoring against us. Really isn't. Used to week in, week out him scoring for us, but it's not a nice feeling at all.
No, the first goal, the movement on the first goal. We can talk about how bad the defending was if you want, but for me, he is the kind of player that I tweeted it. But the difference between what Suarez does and what Rooney does, we're back on you, Wayne. Sorry, is that Rooney would stand on the edge and he'd wait for the ball from Cavani at his feet. Whereas Suarez's first thought is, there's space in behind Jagielka, I'm going to exploit it, and boy did he. Hart is just left standing. Hart does the most slow motion dive, I think, this World Cup.
Yeah.
It was, so Uruguay went 1-0 up. I think it wasn't a shock, but it was against the run of play. I think, Jack, you've got the stats. Uruguay didn't exactly dominate.
No, they really didn't. Their two shots in goal both went in. Besides that, England outpassed them, controlled the play better. I feel as if Uruguay were very smart in how they kind of slowed down England. You look at the kind of first half, the amount of fouls that they kind of, like tactical fouls. You think of the amount of free kicks we had on the edge of the area that we just didn't make anything from. I know Rooney in the first half had that close one. But it was smart by Uruguay. They didn't let England get up to pace. In the first half, you could see a little bit of maybe glimmers of the England side that played against Italy, but Uruguay was so effective at winning the ball, getting big tackles in, and just fouling the England players if they were to get through or were to find themselves in an opportunistic position. And it worked really well for them.
Yeah, it was interesting to me to see that England kind of changed their philosophy. Like Roy said, we'll approach this the same way we did Italy, but that's not true. That was simply not true, because he switched. The big change that kind of was the talks about change was Sterling and Rooney swapped back round. Sterling went out wide, Rooney was in the middle. As I say, they kind of interchanged between the four of them, but you lose something. It's all well and good saying, "Oh well, Sterling can play on the left," but you lose so much playing him not playing him in the middle. He provides such an outlet for Gerrard and Henderson, which Rooney doesn't really offer. He's not really in the right bit of space. Rooney got the goal. Sorry, I don't want to completely rag on him. Glenn Johnson, man of the match, down the wing, gets the ball in. Rooney's there. I guess you've got to be there to score the goal, so I'll give him credit. But aside from that, I did feel a little bit let down. I don't want this to be the Rooney bashing show, because Steven Gerrard had one of his worst performances in an England shirt. Ross, what did you make of Gerrard and Henderson in the middle?
I like Henderson, but Gerrard, he didn't seem up to the play every time. For Liverpool, we have a midfield three. England, we have just Henderson and Gerrard. I think that's where he gets caught out a lot.
Yeah, I would agree.
There's a lot of room either side of him. Whereas for Liverpool, if he goes forward a little bit, Henderson and whoever's next to him will be covering. So,
see, my big gripe with how England was playing was how Rooney was deployed. Because for me, I don't feel as if Rooney is creative enough to play in the centre, and that might sound really controversial. But if you looked at the actual stats, in the first half, he completed 4 passes to the 3 strike attacking players around him in Welbeck, Raheem Sterling and Sturridge. 4 passes to those 3 players in a first half that it'd be fair to say England were the better team and then had a lot more of the ball in isn't good enough. And in the first 35 minutes, he received the ball more at the halfway line on the left-hand side of the centre circle than he did in the centre of the pitch where he was being played. And that was my gripe. For me, if you're going to play that centre kind of number 10 role, you've got to have the creativity and vision to pick out a pass. And while Rooney can pick out a pass, if he doesn't have that space to find the pass, he doesn't like it, he can't do it, and so he always seems to drop deeper and come short to get the ball, which then he hasn't got anyone else to pass to, and he ends up just giving it back to either Henderson or Gerrard. It just wound me up. We've talked about this before. For me, I want to see Rooney play up top for England. I want to see him play alongside Sturridge. I think we should play 4-4-2 and see how it goes. I've got to be honest. Because I think then we're not losing so much, because Raheem Sterling can play out on the right midfield, Lallana can go out on the left, Rooney and Sturridge up front. Or Milner, exactly. And for me, we've got nothing to lose going into the last game, so I honestly wouldn't mind us playing a 4-4-2.
Or a diamond.
Or a diamond.
I think we mentioned this before, but I'm all for an England diamond. I don't really know why we're not doing it. For me, we'll get onto other players in a minute. But for me, Rooney, he strikes me as Gerrard from a few years ago, when Gerrard didn't trust anyone he was playing around. Funnily enough, it was under Roy Hodgson.
Yeah.
And it is at the detriment of the player and the team when one player doesn't trust his teammates. And to me, I don't think Rooney has the same amount of trust in his team as the rest of the team are supposed to have in Wayne Rooney. I think we all think Rooney will do something, so we give him the ball. But then he always looks for this kind of, as you say, he drops deep at the halfway line and then looks for a 40-yarder out wide. And everyone's like, oh, that's the quality Wayne Rooney brings you. I'm thinking, that's great, but I'd rather him be the next ball. I'd rather let Gerrard or Henderson do that, give it to Sterling, and then Rooney's there to give to Sturridge. And then we're never in that situation. We're always in a situation where there's massive gaps in between the lines. It's a mess.
I mean, Rooney wasn't without blame, because Sturridge had the exact same issue as Rooney with drifting out wide. When you're playing one up top, if your front man is going to drift out wide, as Sturridge likes to do, he likes to drift out on the left, he likes to drift off on the right, whoever's in the centre behind him has then got to push into the space that's created, and it's up to those two to work out who is meant to do what. Because in that game, both players would kind of just drift out wide, and England had no cutting edge, they had no striker. And whilst for Sturridge playing for Liverpool, it is fine to drift out wide, because Suarez is the kind of number 10, the kind of player who can just play just off the front man or alongside him, who will sit in the middle, who will find that space that gets created by Sturridge pulling out wide. But for England, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, we saw a world class player being treated like a world class player by their coach and the team in Suarez. We don't necessarily. If Rooney is world class, like many people say he is, we're not seeing him be world class or used in a world class manner. What do you think about the subs, Ross? Because obviously we had to try and win the game towards the end, and there was a point where we kind of had to hold the game and failed at that miserably. So what did you think about the subs? Wrong time, wrong players? What do you reckon?
Ricky Lambert came on too late. I think it was was it past 80th minute he came on?
Yeah.
He should have been on 70th, maybe 65th or something, because we weren't breaking down our defence. And I don't know if we mentioned it yet, but Godin, in my opinion, probably should have got a second yellow.
Yeah.
And that could have changed the whole manner of the game completely.
I agree. What who would you have brought on? At half time, there were a lot of shouts. Well, I saw lots of shouts on Twitter, bizarrely for James Milner. Sterling was getting no luck. Would you have changed Milner for Sterling, maybe, Ross?
I wouldn't necessarily go Milner because that's the more defensive approach because we were 1-0 down at the time.
Yeah, but I think the argument was that he'll hold a position, and if we are I think the point with the Milner substitution, we've not seen him this tournament at all, which is we saw him quite a lot under Capello, is that he will allow the creative players to have a little bit more freedom to go, whereas with Sterling and Welbeck and Rooney and Sturridge, you're relying on them to do something, and you're leaving Gerrard and Henderson quite exposed. I thought Johnson and Baines were quite good yesterday, but as I've put in the notes, they were quite good because nobody tested them at all.
Yeah, no one ran at them whatsoever.
Well, no, I think if Milner had come on, it would have meant that, for me, Welbeck was non-existent for large parts of this game. And I talked about how Sturridge was drifting out to the left, how Rooney would come short at the halfway line on the left. I think if you stick Milner there, he is a very disciplined midfielder, and whilst he might not be the most attacking option, because he sits in that left midfield role, because he would be where Rooney and Sturridge kept running, it means that those two players are forced to play more centrally. I mean, having a man occupying that space, I just think you open it up a lot more. I mean, for me, Welbeck was non-existent. I mean, the link-up play between Baines and players around him, so much play for England came off the full-backs. I think in total, Glenn Johnson at right-back had 25 passes to Sterling and Henderson, who were kind of his two nearest players. And on the other side, Baines had a lot of link-up play with Welbeck and Henderson, but it just didn't feel like we made much grounds with that. And of course, England's second goal did come from kind of a little bit of build-up play, where it started off with Baines, and suddenly there were 3 passes played across the pitch to Johnson, who then found some space down the right-hand side. And for me, that was what we needed to look to do more of, was kind of stretch them and look for the switches rather than looking for the little inside passes all the time and always going down the line.
Yeah, so Rooney put us back into contention. Would you have settled for 1-1, Ross? It was a talking point.
At 1-0 down, I'd have taken a draw.
Is that in retrospect of the fact we lost the game, or at 1-1 where
Probably.
you think we need to go for it?
Because thinking about it, we probably should have won the game. We had a lot of decent chances. I don't want to bring it back to Rooney again, but that one where he didn't take it off Sturridge, but the left-footed shot he had inside the area, he had a lot of the goal to aim for. He put it straight at Muslera, and that was kind of disappointing, but I would have taken a draw.
Yeah,
it was better than nothing.
It was kind of weird because in the start of the second half, England started horrifically. It was as if someone had snuck some sleeping pills in their half-time drinks. They just weren't at the races. And Uruguay came out the blocks, and England weathered that storm a little bit. Joe Hart with a few questionable kind of positioning elements off corners, with Suarez going for shots. But England weathered that storm, and before the goal there was a little bit of pressure building for England, and then the goal flew in, and there was suddenly this new energy about England, and it lasted pretty much 5 minutes. And in that situation, when England was starting to create more chances, I think it was Sturridge who had a shot that the keeper parried wide. I'm kind of sat there thinking, let's go for this now, boys. But then in the next kind of 5 minutes, it was kind of like the high of scoring slowly faded away, and Uruguay started to get the ball a little bit more often in our final third. And although Uruguay didn't control the ball, they were certainly getting it into the dangerous areas quickly, and then really probing for opportunities.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we've talked a lot about the players. I'd like to talk about the man behind it all, the mastermind behind England's demise. And I'm not even talking about Luis Suarez. I don't think... I can see where Hodgson is employed, because I'm sure he's a bit of a yes man. I'm sure he'll do what the FA tell him. I'm sure the players like him, because he comes across as quite he's known as the gentleman of football. But for me, he's incompetent at building a system to fit the players he's got. And that, for me, is the biggest issue surrounding this England team, is the fact we've got people doing jobs which they're not comfortable doing. Gerrard and Henderson have spent all year playing in a 3. and been very, very successful within that three. Wayne Rooney spent all year either playing up top on his own or supporting a striker in a more advanced position. Daniel Sturridge has had someone to play with all year. Like for me, it's not worked out the way it should have because he's playing people in the wrong places and our system doesn't suit. He's kind of gone, okay, well, I've seen these teams play attacking and they've always had like 4 attackers and 2 wide men, so let's just do that and hope it works. When in reality, it doesn't work because what he's done is leave a massive gap in between the 4 players and those further back. Anyone want to say anything about Ross?
Yeah, like I don't know the way he makes Leighton Baines play. Baines' his delivery is so damn good, but yesterday I don't know if Roy Hodgson told him or not to never cross it, but every time he got down that left, like to a good advanced position, he passed it back and it wasn't really getting us anywhere at all.
Jack?
It doesn't seem to fit all the
Baines
play.
did not put a ball into the box from out wide for the entire game. He put 2 in, but from more central positions, and 1 was just a big hoofball switch. He didn't complete a pass into the centre of the box. That gives you an idea of where the issues were. For me, England's best player yesterday was Gary Cahill.
Yeah, I would agree, actually.
He was superb. Positioned himself well. I think he had a really high pass completion. It was like 37 passes he completed out of 41. Like for me, he was superb. He did everything that was asked of him. On the goal, Jagielka probably should track Suarez a little bit better or hold his line. On the flip side, Glenn Johnson needs to show Cavani outside. But that goal, I don't think it was Cahill's fault, and then the second goal was 100% Gerrard's fault.
Well, I don't actually agree with that, but I'm happy to be seen as the biased Liverpool fan. Can we talk about that second goal? Can I give my opinion, then I'll throw it over to you?
Hit me.
Okay, so the ball's pumped up, and I keep hearing, it's a schoolboy error. When Edison Cavani is jumping for the ball, would you like Steven Gerrard to jump with him? Just as a general point, because I would. I wouldn't want Cavani to
jump
be heading
in front,
the ball.
didn't he?
Well, yeah, Cavani jumps in front, misses the ball. Gerrard's obviously going to jump as well because he's got to put some sort of a challenge in there. Flicks off his head. Cahill is trying to play Suarez offside, assuming Cavani heads the ball, which he doesn't. And then we look horrendously exposed. Now, of course, in hindsight, you'd say, well, Cahill should be the other side of him. If the ball's going up, the defence should be dropping. Not all the time. Like sometimes you can cleverly play players offside. The biggest issue for me is that Jagielka is underestimating the cleverness of Luis Suarez. And that is what undoes us. I don't think Gerrard's flick undoes us.
But no, for me, Gerrard jumps up. It's not really something he needs to challenge for. I feel like he's more jumping for the sake of jumping. And I know hindsight's a wonderful thing, but for me, as soon as Cavani misses that ball, he is just going for it because he's near it. And in overextending for it and going for a ball that, in reality, he didn't actually need to go for. It's kind of cost us.
It's poor decision making, and I've said previous on the show I thought Gerrard had a really poor game. This isn't me just like defending Gerrard. I just think in this instance it wasn't entirely Gerrard's fault. There was multiple things that went wrong, and at the end of it, Luis Suarez finishes like I've been watching him do all year, frankly, and he put us to the sword. In summary, Ross, how do England's chances stand right now? Are we still going to go through? It's not over.
You've got to believe, but I don't know. Italy aren't a bad team to rely on. It could be a lot worse. We could be relying on like Costa Rica if it was the other way around. But I don't know. I think if we have to win 1-0 against Costa Rica, it's possible, but it depends on today's result at 5 p.m. That's pretty much it.
That is going to be quite the game. We'll come on to it later. Jack, is it over?
No, it's never over. For me, England they weren't good enough. It was a step down from what we've seen from them before. I feel as if Roy maybe got it wrong, made a few decisions too late. I think, for me, England need to look for a more creative number 10. As I mentioned before, 4-4-2. I know 4-4-2, many will say, it's outdated, it doesn't work. The amount of teams who have lined up with a 4-4-2 in this World Cup has surprised me.
Jackie Bassett over here.
And a lot of the teams have worked well with a 4-4-2. That it looks solid, and I think England have players capable of playing that kind of system. I just think we need 2 strikers.
I think at the moment we're too predictable, and until we become unpredictable, like Chile, like Colombia, like Costa Rica were against Uruguay the first time round, then we're always going to be we're the most obvious team in the world. We know what Gerrard's going to do. We know what Rooney's going to do. We know what Sterling's going to do. And although we know what Sterling's going to do, sometimes he's better than that player, so it works. But we're so obvious. Like if you're to mark England, you know Glenn Johnson's going to run down the line. No, he's not. He's always going to cut inside. And then you know that Baines is going to whip it in. No, he's not. He's going to pass it back. So how easy is that to defend against when you know what they're going to do? It's just infuriating. So this is very weird because we've lost 2 games at the World Cup and we're not out. Like it's
a weird situation. I mean, by the time people are listening, Costa Rica may well have won that game, at which point we are out. But right now, I mean, for me, there is a lot worse situations you could be in. Like, as Ross said, there's a lot worse teams you could be relying on to get results. Yeah. I mean, for me, I would put a bet on right now that Italy can win both their remaining games and England can win their last game by 2 goals or more against Costa Rica, despite everything we've seen. Like, I don't feel like... I wonder what the odds you'd get on that is, because realistically, I might just stick a fiver on it.
Can you see Italy winning both their games and then we draw to Costa Rica?
Yes, I can also see that. I might put a bet on that too.
That'd be so England. I guess we'll preview that game in a later show, but that's kind of our summary. Let us know in the comments, where do you think it all went wrong? I'm inclined to blame Roy. The players weren't completely faultless. Obviously, and I'm sure I'm going to be still criticised for being biased towards somebody or other. I
kind of feel like the big names in the England side didn't turn up. Gerrard and Rooney were very quiet.
Yeah,
that was a big
Henderson
thing.
actually had quite a good game. I thought Henderson was quite good. I thought Sturridge was quite good. I thought, as we mentioned, Cahill was excellent.
Sterling was just non-existent, but then Uruguay didn't let him play. But then, just on a final note, should Roy get sacked off the basis of the 2 games we've seen?
Who do we bring in?
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Like
Alan Kerblishley.
Right, so Colombia beat Ivory Coast 2-1. With that, we are moving on immediately. Colombia beat the Ivory Coast 2-1. Did you see much of the game, Ross? Did you see all the game?
Yeah, I watched it. I'm really enjoying watching Colombia.
Yeah, I think
they're really entertaining.
So they went 2-0 up in the second half. They started off quite well, actually. I thought it was quite an even game in the first half. It was a little bit, I don't know, it was a little bit scrappy. But by the same token, it was quite, like you said, I quite like watching Colombia. They've got a lot of exciting players. Jack, how did you see this game?
Both teams, you know what you're going to get with Colombia and Ivory Coast. They're 2 teams with explosively quick front lines. And I was really hoping to see kind of a battle of the pace in many ways. And it was a fairly end-to-end game. One of the big things that I noticed was the fact that players were trying to beat one another, and the players who you'd expect to outpace like their opposite man in any other game, they weren't outpacing them this game, and it created a stalemate of sorts early on, and it kind of got to the stage where both teams were happy to ping the ball over the top and race them without like have a race between their players without them having the ball at feet. And so, from that perspective, it was a little bit scrappy in places. It could have been a higher standard of football. But by the same token, it was incredibly entertaining to watch it kind of pan out.
Yeah, the second half really set the game on fire. Me and you spoke before the game. We thought Drogba would start. He didn't start. Do you think that had any impact on Ivory Coast in that first half, Ross?
Yeah, like you saw the impact he made in the first game. He pretty much changed the whole dynamic of how they played. And did Wilfred Bowen touch the ball in the first half?
Not a lot.
I can find out for you. Don't you worry. I'll work on it.
I honestly didn't see him.
Would you play Drogba ahead of Boney? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know whether ahead. I'd probably adjust the team so you could fit them both in because they're both ridiculously good in the air. Like they're so physical, and it seems that this World Cup, if you have a physical player, they tend to be quite successful at it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wouldn't start Drogba over Boney, but I'd start him with. It'd work better.
Yeah. Have you got the stats on Boney, Jack?
I have, mate. Bear with me.
Right. Yeah.
They're not very good. Put it that way. He attempted 6 passes and completed. He completed 6 of 8 passes. He lost 4 aerial duels.
Wow.
He didn't have a very good game. And Boney's the kind of player who you think would win those aerial battles. I've got to be honest. When you think of Boney, you think of a big physical striker with the capability to hold it up for faster players. And that simply was not the case.
Yeah. Well, Colombia, as we've mentioned, Colombia looked good. They took the lead with James Rodriguez, which is what our English commentators are calling him. Just call him James.
No, it's James.
No, just stop it. Just call him James.
Well, then
he's so good, though.
Let's call him Terry Henry then, up front, the Arsenal legend. It's the exact same thing.
That's not spelt Terry Henry. That's spelt Thierry Henry. Whereas James Rodriguez, it's spelt James.
Well, no, Henry is spelt Henry.
All right, well, let's call him Thierry Henry then.
But his name's James Rodriguez.
Yeah, but it's not, is it? It's James. Let's call him Jimmy Rod from now on, please. Jimmy Rod. So he put him in the lead. Then Quintero came on and scored a decent goal. And then at that point, you thought, Colombia, that should be it now. They may even go on to score a third. Then all of a sudden, from the depths of North London, via Italy, Gervinho pops up with absolute worldly, Ross.
Yeah, it was a great goal, actually. I thought keeper could have done like a little bit better because near post, but can't take it away from Jovino.
No, I think
Done very well with it.
he's on the run, and you think, he's on a run. This is fun. I wonder what's going to happen here. And then when he scores
Drops
it, you
his
kind of
shoulder.
like, yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh my god, he's actually taken one on. He's taken
We
another one
didn't
on.
see this at Arsenal.
Arsenal fans are watching, going, "Who's this, Wenger? What did you do to him?" So that means Colombia are through. They went on to win the game 2-1. Are you excited to see him in the next round, Jack? And what do you make of Ivory Coast's chances?
Well, I'm trying to work out in my head what situation I need for little old Japan, who we will come on to, don't you worry. I'm just wondering what I need for Japan. I think I need Ivory Coast to lose against Greece and Japan to win by more goals than Greece win. So I'm still backing Japan. Colombia were very impressive. There was a little bit of pressure on them, perhaps, given their world ranking, given a lot of people tipping them. And they've lived up to that hype so far with two very kind of professional, clinical performances.
Indeed. I think we're seeing that South American sides are far better than average European sides as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd agree with that.
Not mentioning England. So that covers that game. I wrote in the notes, I looked for some highlights, Jack. Couldn't find anything for this game. It was Japan 0, Greece 0. If you saw that, I did say pre-tournament, if you watch a Greece game, just let me know what happens. So, Ross, you saw the first half, and then you fell asleep. You just disappeared.
Got tired. It just bored me. They didn't really seem to be set up. Like, obviously, they got a point, which is probably what they might have set out for, but I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, did the red card kill the game, Jack?
Yes, it did. I've got that written down there. I've written sending off killed the match. Because Greece, you knew they were going to defend anyway, but you thought, they might give it a go. You know, they might look to get forward and maybe play for the win. Sending off happened. It was their captain, I can't remember his name, but he kind of plays that role between the midfield and defence of Greece. He's kind of their link-up man. And suddenly, with that link-up man gone, the midfield just dropped in line to where he would normally sit. So it kind of became an 8 at the back with kind of Samaras roaming as he does. He looks like a bit like a pony Samaras when he's out on the left, kind of in loads of space. But
he's got more of a llama look about him. Sorry, Samaras.
But it was pretty bad. I think I was looking at some stats for it. It's the only once since 1966 as a team had more possession than Japan had that game. But it's not about what you do with the ball. It's about what you do when you have it in the opposition box.
Yeah. Did Greece make any clearances?
They did, and another stat I've got written down. You can see the stats. I know you're just feeding me here. Greece made 21 clearances from in that own 18-yard box. Just
is
not
that a record or something?
Yeah, and 9 Japanese players attempted more passes than the highest Greek player, who got 26.
It amazes me that there are any stats from this game at all.
I'm trying to make it sound more exciting. That's all I've got for you, I'm afraid.
You've done well there. I'm not trying to belittle this game. I have nothing else to say about it.
There should have been a penalty because I'm a biased Japan fan.
Oh, okay. What happened?
The Japanese player was stood at the edge of the area, ball's rolling kind of square outside the area. There's a Greek player coming behind him. He kind of turns, sees him, and falls over. So it should have been a penalty.
Well, it sounds nailed on.
Yeah.
So after England's defeat, we're on to the Twitter question now. Unless, Ross, of course, you've got anything more to say about Greece-Japan.
I really don't.
Right, okay, good. So we asked Twitter, the Twitter question of the day. Now England are out, assuming you're English, of course. If you're not, then this question didn't really apply to you, I'm sorry. Which country would you now rather represent? If Ross and Jack, you can think of some answers, we'll come to you at the end. So I asked Twitter, who would you rather represent? We'll start with Ryan, who said Chile because he'd like to see them do well, which is glory hunting, in my opinion, that answer there. Alex said Leroy Fer. The Netherlands, because
I didn't realise Leroy Fer was a nation.
No, but he's a keen listener of the podcast, ForTheFansShow.com. Someone put Germany because they're a quarter German. Very serious answers, and to be honest, if you've gone with Germany, I expect nothing less. Tommy said USA because of freedom. David wants Chile because of a sweepstake. It's very selfish answers right now. Lex said Italy, Mario Balotelli. That is all he's put for that one. James also goes with Italy because they have players like Totti and Del Piero, and they have an interesting bunch of players.
They are an interesting bunch of players.
So thank you for your answers for question of the week. If you want to get involved tomorrow, then check it out about 11:30, and we usually post a question on the Twitter. Leave it in the comments of the YouTube. If you could now represent a country, if your team are out, if you're Spanish or English, then do let us know, or Australian. Ross, who would you like to represent? Who are you pumping for now?
I want USA to do well. I don't know why. Like, I quite enjoy watching them. They're quite
So-
entertaining.
Would you like? So you're now your Team USA.
Jump on that bandwagon.
All right, bandwagon, blimey, it's more of a station wagon. Jack, is it going to be Japan?
Maybe.
Right.
I was going to say Spain to be a glory supporter, but I can't do that, can I?
Oh, no, you can't.
Bit of a dig there. I'm going to go with...
Sorry, they are literally the only team, as England fans, we can have a dig at.
I know.
There are no other teams
Let
in
me
this
revel
world.
in it, allow it.
Right, so who do you want to be? Who are you representing now?
I think, for me, the Netherlands... Just because I think they're playing a nice style of football, and I think it could see them go a long way, and I think it's going to be interesting to see if they come up against the likes of Colombia, teams who are going to have that pace and kind of really attack. I want to see how they're going to deal with that, and I think if they can deal with that well, then they'll be a team deserved of playing kind of in the final.
What a glory hunting answer that is. I'm going to go France because I'm going there later this year, and I'd like to fit in. It's easy, isn't it? So let's move on to the big game of today. It's Italy versus Costa Rica. It's the game that all England fans are very interested in.
Come on.
Where do you see it going, Ross?
I'm hoping an Italian win. I'd be gutted if there's not, because are we out if they lose?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Oh, that's not good. No, Italy win.
Italy must win. So,
100%.
So Buffon is likely to be back. De Rossi and Barzagli apparently getting looked at because they picked up knocks in training, or maybe during the game. I don't know what happened. Joel Campbell expected to start again for Costa Rica, and Brian Ruiz is looking to help him out in the attack. Score prediction, Ross?
I'm going to go 3-1 Italy.
All right, good. That's what we want to hear. Jack, are you backing Mario and his Italians?
I'm backing Balotelli's boys. I'm going to go with a 5-0 win.
5-0.
It's more out of optimism and hope than actual kind of realistic expectations.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Costa Rica cope with Italy and vice versa. Obviously, we saw Costa Rica give Uruguay a torrid time. Italy set up in a little bit more of a defensive way, but will they be doing that against Costa Rica? It'd be interesting to see if they underestimate them. I'm going to go with a very nervy 1-0 Italy win.
It's going to be...
I think that,
Sorry, I was going to say, it's going to be weird, this one. Just going back to what you were saying about how the teams are going to line up. Because Costa Rica weren't tested against Uruguay. And I feel as if this test against Italy should give us a better idea of what to expect from them against England.
Costa Rica, another team that used wing-backs.
Yeah.
So did Italy. So it'll be interesting to see how they coexist. Switzerland play the French. They both won their first games in the group. Where do we see this one going? We'll start with Jack this time. France have got quite a few players on yellow cards, so I'd be interested if they keep the same lineup. But they would look pretty comfortable. So what do you reckon?
So long as Pogba doesn't kick anyone and get sent off, I'm quite optimistic about France's chances. I feel as if they're a team who have gone under the radar a lot. I feel as if they're a team who look very good in their first game against Honduras. Switzerland perhaps a little bit lucky to get that last minute winner against Ecuador. But for me, France are going to run out 2-0 winners. I think they've got enough about them.
What do you think, Ross? Switzerland are quite hotly rated in terms of FIFA World Rankings, which you know mean so much. So do you think the French will get a bit of a hard time? The Swiss aren't a bad team.
I reckon it'll be a difficult game for them, but I reckon they'll edge it like 1-0, maybe 2-1.
So you're going with a France victory. And do you think Pogba will be getting sent off?
I reckon they'll be quite cautious of him today.
All right. Well,
if they're leading, I reckon they'll sub him off.
All right. I'm kind of backing France. I think France have got a very good chance at this World Cup, but not that they've been really tested and are unlikely to be tested in this group. But I'm going to go with a France. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to go 2-2 because I think the Swiss are quite good. I think the Swiss underperformed against Ecuador, and I think they might cause a little bit of a shock. So I'm going to go Switzerland 2, France 2, with Pogba getting a yellow card to miss the final game. The final game of the day, Honduras versus Ecuador. Palacios even is suspended for Honduras. Tragic that. I can see there being a fight. Ross, do you like a football fight?
It's quite entertaining, but Honduras, I think against France, their discipline was so bad. It's like they wanted to go out and injure all their players. Same as when they played us in the friendly, they just don't give a they don't care.
Well, good save, good save, great save.
That is clap-worthy. That was quite something. That's my favourite moment of the World Cup podcast so far. That is a better save than what Casillas has shown all tournament.
That's a dig.
Got you, Spain. It was my turn. So who do you think will win, Honduras versus Ecuador, or do you think it'll be suspended?
Can I just say, why are we predicting the score in this game? I feel like a better thing would be to predict the red cards.
Well, shall we predict cards instead? Just who gets the most cards?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, Ross. Who's getting the most cards in
Honduras.
the
They're getting the most cards today.
How many are they getting?
9. No, not 9.
9, bloody hell.
9 is
6.
so many. Right, 6. Jack,
6.
how many cards are Ecuador getting?
I think Honduras will get more. I think Honduras will get 5 and Ecuador will get 3 and a red card.
I love this. This is better than doing scores. I think there'll be 2 red cards on each side. That'll be it. Just straight reds, no yellows. The referee will not be messing. I don't know who's in charge of this game, but there'll be no messing around. Just
They must
yellows.
be dreading
Just reds
it.
everywhere. Sorry.
They must have watched the Honduras game and be like, oh gosh.
Yeah,
Better make sure I've got my cards for this one.
It's not surprising that both teams have players who are on yellow cards and could potentially be suspended for the final game. That is almost a guarantee. France and Switzerland are just thinking, whatever happens here, we're fine. So that brings us to our favourite part of the show. Jack, have you got a timer ready?
I've got the timer ready today. Don't you worry. We're
You're
ready.
already ready?
Play the jingle. We don't have a jingle.
We don't have a jingle because we're worried that RT Soccer will steal it. So, Ross, do you know the rules of the quiz?
No.
Excellent. So you've got 30 seconds on the clock. Jack will time it. Currently topping the leaderboard is Cavani, who's better known as Jake, and Work the Space, better known as Jack.
Yes, me.
So you've got 6 to beat. Propping up the leaderboard, Nepenthes, Calfreezy, Shifty. So, you know, if you can get yourself... Where are you aiming for in this quiz?
Not bottom.
Not bottom.
You need
okay.
1 point. Nick
Okay.
got half a point, so the bar is set low.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1. Jack, when you're ready, can we get a countdown?
3, 2, 1, go.
How much will teams earn for getting knocked out of the group stage?
No idea.
$8 million. Which were the only teams to go unbeaten at the 2010 World Cup?
Spain. No, they lost against
New Zealand.
Game.
Spell crossbar.
Crossbar?
Spell it.
CROSSBAR.
Correct. Spell header.
Not bottom. HEADER.
Spell Socrates Papalothopoulos.
No.
Are you enjoying the quiz?
That's time.
Yes.
Oh, too late.
We'll
Too
give him
late,
half a
Jack.
point. Half a point for that one.
What, for saying yes?
Yeah.
So he's on. So what's that? 3.5. 2.5.
Yes, I'm not bottom.
That puts you right in the middle of the leaderboard. Jack, can we get a graphic for the leader? Oh, I'm joking. That's the leaderboard. So you've that's not too bad. 2.5 points on the quiz. You know, that's admirable. I think we can respect that.
I was impressed with your spelling. I was sat there clueless.
The correct answer was Skratis. Like, if you want to cut this to the end.
I could have spelled Socrates, but the I can't say it myself.
It's Papastathopulos. And I'm not reading that. That's off memory.
I feel sorry for him, like in exams, where it's like put your first name and last name, because he must not have room. Does he ask for like another sheet of paper that he like has to stick to the front of it with his
I
entire
reckon he
name?
makes a name up.
He would ask for it,
Steve.
and I was like, "Did you used to get the like?" That you were probably the kid that asked for the paper, to be fair. But if someone asked for paper in an exam, I'd always think, "God, you smug bastard." But like, I imagine he would ask for it immediately, and everyone would be like, "God, how is he doing that? He does it every single time." Actually, no. To be fair, if he's growing up in Greece, they're probably all doing it.
Imagine if you had one of those ones where like you have to put your characters in each individual box.
Oh God, not a chance.
Nightmares.
You have to draw extra squares.
It must go beyond that. Like whenever he's going through like customs or getting a new passport, whatever, that must be a nightmare.
You know, in maths, you'd have that paper with just squares on.
Yeah.
That is what Greek children used to fill their names in. They didn't have a choice. Like, they just needed extra boxes. Anyway, I think that brings us
And that's
to the
somewhat racist, bombshell.
No, it wasn't. That's not racist. That's just fact. They've got long names in Greece.
I know we have a few Greek viewers, so let us know what your name is if you're from Greece. And what would your Greek name be?
Anyway,
Excellent.
as a point, Jack, did you used to ask for extra paper?
Yes.
No. Can you do the social media stuff, Jack?
Guys, if you haven't already, you can check us out on Twitter at ForTheFans Show. We're available on YouTube and iTunes. You can get all our links over at www.forthefansshow.com. I think that's everything, Ben.
Yeah, we will be appearing on BBC Radio Manchester later today. Check it out if you're in the area. If you're not in the area, you can find it online. We'll be linking it on Twitter. It's about 4:45, right, Jack?
Indeed.
Excellent. I'd like to thank our guest, Ross, otherwise known as GCII Messi from the YouTube. Thanks for joining us. How you doing? Start all over again. Was that fun? Did you enjoy this?
That was good, yeah. Thank you for letting me come on.
That's absolutely no problem.
It's different. I've never done something like this before, but I enjoyed it.
Well, you know, you can come on again after that review. Me, Ben, from a guest, Ross, Jack, you can have the final word. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. bacon. Wow, I'm stealing the words now because do another word.
Vuvuzela.
Unbelievable.